You know, I'm already feeling the drizzle. Haya, twende kazi. We'll see how it goes. Hello and welcome. Thank you very much once again for joining me on Katiba Reflections with me, Charles Nyachae. In our last session of these reflections, we started looking at Chapter 8 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and we reflected on the first two parts of that Chapter 8. So today I would like to reflect on the rest of that Chapter 8. And we start with part 3, which deals with the offices of Parliament. Chapter 8, at Articles 106, deals with speakers and deputy speakers of Parliament. 106.1 provides that there shall be a speaker for each House of Parliament who shall be elected by that House in accordance with their standing orders from amongst persons who are qualified to be elected as members of Parliament but are not such members. So the person to be elected as a Speaker of either House cannot be a member of the House as at the point they are being elected, but must be somebody who is qualified to be a member of the House. B, a deputy speaker for each House of Parliament who shall be elected by that House in accordance with the standing orders from amongst the members of that House. So simply put, the speaker will be elected from those who qualify but are not actually members of the House. But the deputy speaker will be elected from members of the particular House. Article 2, the office of Speaker or Deputy Speaker shall become vacant, A, when a new House of Parliament first meets after an election, B, if the office holder as a member of the relevant House vacates office under Article 103, which we looked at last time. C, if the relevant House so resolves by resolution supported by the votes of at least 2/3 of its members, or D, if the office holder resigns from office in a letter addressed to the relevant House. 107 deals with presiding in Parliament. At any sitting of a House of Parliament, A, the Speaker presides, B, in the absence of the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker presides, and C, in the absence of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, another member of the House elected by the House presides. Article 2, at a joint sitting of the Houses of Parliament, the Speaker of the National Assembly shall preside, assisted by the Speaker of the Senate. Here again, we see the thinking behind the framers of the Constitution as regards the two Houses of Parliament. Clearly, the Speaker of the National Assembly is projected as, if you like, at a higher level than the Senate. Article 108, party leaders. 1, there shall be a leader of the majority party and a leader of the minority party. 2, the leader of the majority party shall be the person who is a leader in the National Assembly of the largest party or coalition of parties. And 3, the leader of the minority party shall be the person who is the leader in the National Assembly of the second largest party or coalition of parties. Kenyans will remember that after the last general election, at the point of Parliament convening, there was quite a heated debate as to which of the two coalitions of parties had the the majority for the purposes of Article 108. And this presents potentially a very interesting scenario if it is considered that the majority party in Parliament is a party that is different from the party of a president who has just been elected. Or one can see the practical challenges that would present in terms of the operations of Parliament and the governing of the country. Sabbatical 4108 provides that the following order of precedence shall be observed in the National Assembly. A, the Speaker of the National Assembly. B, the leader of the majority party. And C, the leader of the minority party. That is really basically precedence in the sense of protocol. Part 4, procedures for enacting legislation. The exercise of legislative powers. Article 109. 1. Parliament shall exercise its legislative power through bills passed by Parliament and assented to by the President. 2. Any bill may originate in the National Assembly. That's important. Again, in terms of the dynamics of the two houses, any bill may originate in the National Assembly. Article 3, a bill not concerning county government is considered only in the National Assembly and passed in accordance with Article 122 and the standing orders of the Assembly. Article 4, a bill concerning county government may originate in the National Assembly or the Senate and is passed in accordance with Articles 110 to 113, Articles 122 and 123, and the standing orders of the houses. And 5, a bill may be introduced by any member or committee of the relevant House of Parliament, but a money bill, and we shall shortly look at what is a money bill, a money bill may be introduced only in the National Assembly in accordance with Article 114. Bills concerning county government, Article 110. In this constitution, a bill concerning county government means A, a bill containing provisions affecting the functions and powers of the county governments set out in the 4th schedule of the Constitution. B, a bill relating to the election of members of a county assembly or a county executive. And C, a bill referred to in Chapter 12, that's the chapter that deals with public finance management, affecting the finances of county governments. Article 2, a bill concerning county governments is A, special bill which shall be considered under Article 111 if it, 1, relates to the election of members of a county assembly or a county executive, or 2, is the annual county allocation of revenue bill that is referred to in Article 218. B, an ordinary bill which shall be considered under Article 112 in any other case. Before either house considers a bill, the speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate shall jointly resolve and any question as to whether it is a bill concerning counties, and if it is, whether it is a special or an ordinary bill. When any bill concerning county government has been passed by one house of parliament, the speaker of that house shall refer it to the speaker of the other house. And if both houses pass the bill in the same form, the speaker of the house in which the bill originated shall, within 7 days, refer the bill to the president for assent. A special bills concerning county governments, Article 111. Subarticle 1, a special bill concerning a county government shall proceed in the same manner as an ordinary bill concerning county government, subject to clauses 2 and 3. Now, clauses 2 and 3 provide as follows. Clause 2, the National Assembly may amend or veto a special bill that has been passed by the Senate only by a resolution supported by at least 2/3 of the members of the Assembly. 3, if a resolution in the National Assembly to amend or veto a special bill fails to pass, the Speaker of the Assembly shall within 7 days refer the bill in the form adopted by the Senate to the President for assent. Article 112, ordinary bills concerning county governments. 1, if one house passes an ordinary a bill concerning county governments and the second house A rejects the bill, it shall be referred to a mediation committee appointed under Article 113. Or B passes the bill in an amended form, it shall be referred back to the originating house for reconsideration. Now, Subarticle 2, if after the originating house has reconsidered a bill referred back to it under clause 1B, that house A passes the bill as amended, the speaker of that house shall refer the bill to the president within 7 days for assent. Or B rejects the bill as amended, the bill shall be referred to a mediation committee under Article 113. So 113 deals with the mediation committees, and it provides that if a bill is referred to a mediation committee under Article 112, the speakers of both houses shall appoint a mediation committee consisting of equal numbers of members of each house to attempt to develop a version of the bill that both houses will pass. If the mediation committee agrees on a version of the bill, each house shall vote to approve or reject that version of the bill. If both houses approve the version of the bill proposed by the mediation committee, the Speaker of the National Assembly shall refer the bill to the President within 7 days for assent. For if the mediation committee fails to agree on a version of the bill within 30 days, or if a version proposed by the committee is rejected by either house, that bill then is defeated. Money bills, Article 114. A money bill may not deal with any matter other than those listed in the definition of a money bill in Clause 3. Number 2, if in the opinion of the Speaker of the National Assembly, a motion makes provision for a matter listed in the definition of a money bill, the Assembly may proceed only in accordance with the recommendation of the relevant committee of the Assembly after taking into account the views of the Cabinet Secretary responsible for finance. 3, in this Constitution, a money bill means a bill other than a bill specified in Article 218. That is the Public Finance Management chapter. other than a bill specified in that article that contains provisions dealing with one, or A, taxes, B, the imposition of charges on a public fund or the variation or repeal of any of those charges, C, the appropriation, receipt, custody, investment, or issue of public money, and D, the raising or guaranteeing of any loan or its repayment or matters incidental to any of those matters. Article 115 deals with presidential assent and referral. Within 14 days after receipt of a bill, the president shall A, assent to the bill, or B, refer the bill back to Parliament for reconsideration by Parliament, noting any reservations that the president has concerning the bill. Two, if the president refers a bill back for reconsideration, Parliament may, following the appropriate procedures under this part, A, amend the bill in light of the president's reservations, or B, pass the bill a second time without amendment. If Parliament amends the bill fully accommodating the president's reservations, the appropriate speaker shall resubmit it to the president for assent. Article 4, Parliament, after considering the president's reservations, may pass the bill a second time without amendment, or with amendments that do not fully accommodate the president's reservations, by a vote supported A, by 2/3 of members of the National Assembly, and B, 2/3 of the delegation if it is or in the Senate, if it is a bill that requires the approval of the Senate. If Parliament has passed a bill under Clause 4, the appropriate speaker shall within 7 days resubmit it to the president, and B, the president shall within 7 days assent to the bill. Article 6, if the president does not assent to a bill or refer it back within the period prescribed in Clause 1, or assent to it under Clause 5b, the bill shall be taken to have been assented to on the expiry of that period. Article 116, the coming into force of laws. 1, a bill passed by Parliament and assented to by the President shall be published in the Gazette as an Act of Parliament within 7 days after assent. 2, subject to Clause 3, an Act of Parliament comes into force on the 14th day after its publication in the Gazette, unless the Act stipulates a different date on or time at which it shall come into force. 3, an Act of Parliament that confers a direct pecuniary interest on members of Parliament shall not come into force until after the next general election of members of Parliament. Article 4, Clause 3 does not apply to an interest that members of Parliament have as members of the public. So the provision in Article 3 that where an Act of Parliament confers a direct pecuniary interest on members of Parliament shall come into force only after the next general election, does not apply if the pecuniary interest accrues to members of Parliament only as members of the public and is not peculiar to members of Parliament. Part 5 deals with Parliament's general procedures and rules. Article 117 on powers, privileges, and immunities. There shall be freedom of speech and debate in Parliament. Secondly, Parliament may, for the purpose of the orderly and effective discharge of the business of Parliament, provide for the powers, privileges, and immunities of Parliament, its committees, the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, the chairpersons of committees, and members. Public access and participation, Article 118. A parliament shall conduct its business in an open manner, and sittings and those of its committees shall be in public. And B, Parliament shall facilitate public participation and involvement in the legislative and other business of Parliament and its committees. Sub-Article 2, Parliament may not exclude the public or any media from any sitting unless in exceptional circumstances the relevant speaker has determined that there are justifiable reasons for the exclusion. The right to petition Parliament, Article 119. Every person has a right to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority, including to enact, amend, or repeal any legislation. And Sub-Article 2, Parliament shall make provision for the procedure for the exercise of this right to petition Parliament. Article 120, the official languages of Parliament. The official languages of Parliament shall be Kiswahili, English, and Kenyan Sign Language, and the business of Parliament may be conducted in English, Kiswahili, and Kenyan Sign Language. Secondly, in case of a conflict between different language versions of an act of Parliament, the version signed by the President shall prevail. Let me make an observation here. You will recall when we were reflecting in the earlier part of the Constitution, I did make the observation that it's difficult to see what efforts have been made to achieve the constitutional imperative of making of ensuring that Kiswahili is an official language. So here again, when it comes to the language of Parliament, that issue arises again. Kiswahili is an official language theoretically under the Constitution, but in practice, this doesn't seem to have been realized or a basis set for making Kiswahili practically an official language. The quorum of Parliament under Article 121, the quorum shall be 50 members in the case of the National Assembly, or 15 members in the case of the Senate. Voting in Parliament, Article 122, except as otherwise provided in this Constitution, any question proposed for decision in either House of Parliament shall be determined by a majority of the members in that House present and voting. Secondly, on a question proposed for decision in either House, A, the Speaker has no vote, and B, in the case of a tie, the question is lost. Sub-Article 3, a member shall not vote on any question in which the member has a pecuniary interest. And Sub-Article 4, in recording the number of members of a House of Parliament for any purpose of voting in that House, the Speaker of that House shall not be counted as a member. The decisions of the Senate, Article 123. On election, all the members of the Senate who are registered as voters in a particular county shall collectively constitute a single delegation for purposes of Clause 4, and the member elected under Article 98 1A, that is the member, you will recall, who is elected as a member of the Senate, as the Senate, the county being a single member constituency, that member shall be the head of the delegation. 2, when the Senate is to vote on any matter other than a bill, the Speaker shall rule on whether the matter affects or does not affect counties. 3, when the Senate votes on a matter that does not affect counties, each Senate has one vote. Sorry, each senator has one vote. 4, except as provided otherwise in this Constitution, in any matter in the Senate affecting counties, A, each county delegation shall have one vote to be cast on behalf of the county by the head of the county delegation, or in the absence of the head of the delegation, by another member of the delegation designated by the head of the delegation. B, the person who votes on behalf of a delegation shall determine whether or not to vote in support of or against the matter after consulting the other members of the delegation. And C, the matter is carried only if it is supported by a majority of all the delegations. Committees and standing orders, Article 124. Each House of Parliament may establish committees and shall make standing orders for the orderly conduct of its proceedings, including the proceedings of its committees. 2, Parliament may establish joint committees consisting of members of both houses and may jointly regulate the procedure of those committees. 3, the proceedings of either house are not invalid just because of A, a vacancy in the membership, or B, the presence or participation of any person not entitled to be present at or to participate in the proceedings of the House. Article 125 deals with the Parliament's powers to call for evidence. Article 1, either House of Parliament and any of its committees has power to summon any person to appear before it for the purpose of giving evidence or providing information. Any person. So, without exception, Parliament can summon any person to appear before it or a committee for the purposes of giving evidence or providing information to Parliament. Secondly, for the purposes of that clause, a House of Parliament and any of its committees has the same powers as the High Court. A, to enforce the attendance of witnesses and examine them on oath, affirmation, or otherwise. B, to compel the production of documents. And C, to issue a commission or request to examine witnesses abroad. Part 6. Article 126, allocation of sittings of Parliament. Sitting of either house may be held at any place within Kenya and may commence at any time that the House appoints. And whenever a new House, this is Article 2, whenever a new House is elected, the President, by notice in the Gazette, shall appoint the place and date for the first sitting of the new House, which shall not be not more than 30 days after the election. Let me say I'm not sure the logic behind that provision of 126(2). I'm not sure why Parliament did not just set a timetable. So after a certain number of days, Parliament sits for the first time without necessarily the president issuing notice. Then Article 127 deals with the Parliamentary Service Commission, and it provides for the establishment of the Parliamentary Service Commission, consisting of the Speaker of the National Assembly as chairperson. Then it sets out the other members who are the majority of whom are members of Parliament, and others who are nominated by the political parties, and also provides for the clerk of the Senate to be the secretary to the commission. On reflection of this particular provision, I am likely to come out as controversial. This is one of those provisions which, from the very onset, when this constitution was promulgated, I was never, and I am still not persuaded that it is consistent with the spirit of the rest of the constitution, and in particular, chapter 15, which deals with constitutional commissions and independent offices. We will look at chapter 15 at a later point. But as far as I am able to think through, the manner in which the Parliamentary Service Commission is created here, where the majority of members of the commission are actually members of Parliament, is, in my view, illogical and completely inconsistent with the spirit of chapter 15. As I say, that is likely to come out as controversial. But then again, these are just my views, and these are reflections. I think the idea of having a constitutional commission, parliamentary service commission, I think is a good idea. But the idea of having members of parliament as members of that commission, in my view, is not a good idea. If we look briefly at, we'll at a later date, we will look more substantively at chapter 15. But if we look briefly at chapter 15, and for example, Article 249, Subarticle 2, the commissions and the holders of independent offices B are independent and not subject to direction or control by any person or authority. So having members of parliament who are nominated there by political parties to be members of an independent commission, to me, is not consistent with the logic, as I understand it, of having independent commissions. But that's my view. But I think it's something that could Kenyans would do well to reflect a little further on if at any point there is a consideration of reviewing the constitution, because if I look at chapter 6, if I look at sabbatical 6 of 127, which deals with the responsibilities of that commission, I don't think that any of those responsibilities require members of parliament to be members of that commission. As I say, probably a controversial position to take, but that is my reflection on Article 127 on dealing with the Parliamentary Service Commission. Yes, finally, of course, the chapter provides for clerks for each House of Parliament and also staff of Parliament. In concluding my reflections on this chapter 8 dealing with the legislature, I think it's one of those, and it's a fundamental part of the governance system. Parliament is, of course, a very important organ in any constitution. I think our chapter 8 is one of those that probably suffered from, in the process of creating the constitution, probably suffered from the considerations that were more attuned to the thinking and interests of the political class that was involved in writing and finally approving and adopting the constitution before its promulgation, than with the interests of the broad interests of the people of Kenya. So if I was in my reflection, I would strongly feel that, for example, the nature, characteristics, and dynamics around the two houses of parliament is an area that needs, in my view, further reflection, especially the role of the Senate vis-a-vis the role of the National Assembly. I dare to suggest upon reflection that this chapter 8 on the legislature has parts which I think are fundamental to the question of the whole architecture of both that chapter as well as the architecture of the Constitution, that reflect more a thinking around the interests of the political class as at the time the Constitution was being written, rather than the long-term or the interests of having a constitution that has long-term interests of how best the people of Kenya can be governed. And I would therefore suggest that further reflection in which the people of Kenya should not shy away from um, seeking to correct what I have, in my view, indicated as I think normally is inconsistent with the architecture of the Constitution, and see if it can be improved. This will probably come across as wow. Sorry? Yeah. This may probably come across as being radical or controversial. But then again, this is in my view, the whole point of reflecting on the Katiba at this particular time. And as I keep emphasizing, these are just my views. These are just my reflections. And at the very least, I hope that they can provoke further thought, further and wider reflections. I therefore say thank you very much for being with me in these two sessions reflecting on Chapter 8 of the legislature, and indeed on the Constitution up to this point. And I look forward to sharing reflections in the days ahead relating to the remaining parts of the Constitution. Thank you very much.